You are losing a fight. Your opponent has you pinned. His blade is at your throat. In a few seconds, you will be dead. But then, a cow is brought into the arena. Not a joke, not a metaphor, a real cow. Its tail is shaved, covered in grease. The cow is whipped into a frenzy, and you are told, grab the tail, hold on, do not let go. If you hold on for the required time as the cow thrashes and spins like a wild beast, you are allowed to live. If you let go, you die. And if you survive, congratulations, you get to keep the cow. This was not a myth. This was not a legend. This was an actual law in Viking Age Sweden and Denmark, a legally recognized form of dispute resolution. Your life saved by a cow. Welcome to the weirdest justice system in human history. To understand why Viking punishments were so strange, you have to understand their world. There were no police, no judges, no prisons, no court system you could call. If someone stole from you, you had to handle it yourself. If someone insulted your wife, you had to handle it yourself. If someone killed your brother, you had to handle it yourself. And if you did not handle it, you lost honor. And in Viking society, losing honor was worse than losing your life. The Vikings had a legal assembly called the Thing, a gathering of free men where disputes were settled. But the Thing did not have the power to enforce its decisions. There were no police to carry out punishments. The only real punishment the Thing could impose was outlawry. Outlawry meant you were no longer protected by the law. Your property was confiscated. You were banished from your community, and anyone, literally anyone, could kill you without punishment. But here is the part that shocks most people. In Viking society, an insult was often punished more severely than murder. If you killed someone, you paid a fine, the vergild or man price. For killing a free man, you paid about 15 silver marks. For killing a slave, you paid much less. But if you called someone arger, an accusation of cowardice or unmanliness, you could be challenged to a duel. If you refused the duel, you were outlawed. If you lost the duel, you were outlawed. Either way, you were dead. Words could kill you in Viking society. Think about that. You could kill a man and pay a fine, but if you insulted his honor, if you said he was unmanly, you could lose everything. Your property, your family, your life. Honor was more valuable than blood. Now, let us get to the truly bizarre punishments. Punishment number 1. The Cow Rodeo. You are in a holmgang duel. You are losing. Your opponent is about to kill you, but instead of executing you, your opponent offers you a chance to live. A cow is led into the arena. A massive, angry, terrified cow. Its tail is shaved clean, covered in animal fat. Your shoes are also greased. The cow is whipped and prodded into a frenzy. You grab the tail. The cow spins. It kicks. It charges. You are being dragged across the mud, holding on for dear life. Your greased shoes slip and slide. Your fingers burn. You have to hold on for a specified time, usually a few minutes, but it feels like forever. If you hold on, you are allowed to live, and the cow becomes your property. If you let go, your opponent kills you. This was a real legal punishment, not a myth, not a joke, a real law in Viking Age Sweden. One historian described it as the most humiliating test of manhood ever invented. And you know what? It worked. Because nobody wants to be the guy who died because he couldn't hold on to a cow. Punishment number 2. Tar feathers and a gauntlet of stones. According to Sweden's Bjarki laws, which date back to 832 AD, a man caught stealing on trading journeys faced a unique punishment. First, his head was shaved, completely bald. Second, his head was covered in hot tar. Third, duck feathers were thrown on top. But that was just the preparation. Now came the real punishment. The other traders would form 2 long parallel lines facing inward. Each man held a rock or brick. The thief was forced to run between them, and everyone threw stones at him. If a trader did not throw a rock, he was fined. If the thief survived the gauntlet, He endured no further punishment. His punishment was over. He walked away, bruised, bloodied, and covered in feathers. The message was clear. We don't want thieves on our trading routes, but we also don't want to kill you. We just want to humiliate you so badly that you never do this again. Punishment number 3. The Blood Eagle. The twist. Now we come to the most infamous Viking punishment of all. The Blood Eagle. The victim is tied face down. The executioner cuts open the back. Each rib is broken one by one from the spine. The ribs are pulled outward like wings. Then the lungs are pulled out through the opening and spread across the ribs. The victim is alive for most of this process. It is the most brutal execution method in Viking history. But here is the twist. Most modern historians believe the Blood Eagle never actually happened. Roberta, a medieval literature scholar, analyzed every account of the Blood Eagle in medieval poetry. She found that the descriptions change over time. They get more graphic and more elaborate with each retelling. The earliest accounts are vague. Later accounts are disturbingly detailed. The poets were not reporting history. They were creating legend. One historian, Hilda Ellis Davidson, pointed out that the Blood Eagle was physically possible. But possible does not mean it actually happened. Here is the real twist. The Blood Eagle was likely invented by poets to make the Vikings sound more brutal than they actually were. Think about that. The thing you think of when you think of Viking brutality, the symbol of their savagery. It might be completely made up. The Vikings were brutal. They were raiders. They killed and stole and enslaved. But even they had limits. Even they had laws. Even they had rules of engagement. The Blood Eagle was probably a poetic fantasy. A story told to make heroes sound more powerful, more terrifying, more Viking. We have been scared by a ghost. Punishment number 4. The word that could kill you. And finally, the strangest punishment of all. The punishment for words. In Viking society, you could call a man a coward. You could call him weak. You could call him foolish. All of those were insults, but not legal offenses. But if you called a man arger, if you accused him of being unmanly, effeminate, a coward, a man who had been sexually penetrated by another man, that was a crime. Ergi was the most serious insult in Viking law. Accusing someone of ergi was illegal. The accused had the right to challenge you to a duel. If you refused the duel, you were outlawed. If you lost the duel, you were outlawed. Either way, your life was over. One Viking chief became so tired of these honor duels that he made a law any man caught composing poetry insulting another man would be outlawed. He outlawed poetry to prevent the resulting battles. Words could kill you in Viking society. And that brings us to today. Now, let us bring this back to your life. You live in a world where you can insult anyone online with zero consequences. You can call someone a coward, an idiot, a liar. You can say the worst things imaginable. You can spread rumors that destroy lives. And what happens to you? Absolutely nothing. You are safe behind your screen. Anonymous. Immune to consequences. In Viking society, you could be killed for the things you say online today. You are protected. They were not. And here is the strange irony. We live in a world obsessed with justice. We want cancel culture. We want accountability. We want people to face consequences for their words. But we have also made words completely consequence-free for the speaker. You can type anything and walk away. The damage is done. The person you insulted is hurt. But you feel nothing. The Vikings understood something we have forgotten. Words are weapons. Words have power. Words can destroy someone's honor. And in a world where honor is everything, destroying someone's honor is equivalent to destroying their life. We have traded honor for convenience. We have traded responsibility for anonymity. We have traded consequences for comfort, and we have lost something important along the way. So the next time you are about to fire off an angry comment, the next time you type something you would never say to someone's face, the next time you insult a stranger for entertainment, remember the Viking who had to grab a greased cow tail to save his life? Remember the outlaw banished to the wilderness, hunted by anyone who found him? Remember that for the Vikings, honor was not a game. It was survival. And remember this, words are cheap today because we made them cheap. But words still have power. They still hurt. They still destroy. The only difference is that now you can destroy someone without any consequence to yourself. What would happen if we treated our words like they mattered again? What would happen if the person on the other side of the screen was a Viking? Comment below. If you could bring back one Viking punishment for the internet age, what would it be?